Good morning. Hi, Carol. This little video is going to show you how you can quickly send a WIC Direct transaction through the WIC Direct system. This would simulate a retail purchase when a participant would go into a store and purchase a benefit item. So the first thing is we're going to use the test instance that you used in our training, EBT Test 08 with instance 4. And we're going to log on. EBT QA1, that's one of our default IDs that we have when we have seed data. You may have a different ID. If you need an ID on the system, let me know and I can set you one up. Okay, what we're going to do is use what we call the message builder to send a transaction through. And before we get into it, the message builder, which you'll access from this tab over here on WIC Direct, the message builder is a way to build a message using basically using a template or a form. And this tool is laid out to match up to the technical implementation guide messaging standard. So if you were to look in the messaging guide and say, well, bit 2 in a purchase message is supposed to be the card number, you'll see on this form that there's a spot for bit 2. So let's go through a little bit of what we're going to need. We're going to need a household, participant card number with active benefits, a vendor that's eligible to sell the items that the participant is going to purchase, and some UPCs that match up to the categories and subcategories. Now we already know household that we're going to use because we're going to use Mr. Peters that you were using in our training. So I'm going to come over here to the accounts page just to see what kind of benefits the Peters family has available. And I know that the household number was 158, and you can scroll down this list and find it and pick it that way. Some of these things you probably already know. Or you can search on it from here on the household number field. And get used to it. I know that Mountain Plains doesn't have that terrible spinny wait long thing, but when your screen's refreshing, get used to looking up here to see if you're actually you're actually getting a response that's taking long, or you're just not working. So here is the Peters family, and this is the card number. And I'm going to copy this right now into a little notepad that I have over on my other screen because I'm going to need that. And let's see what kind of benefits are available. All right. Here we have the current and future benefits in the time period February 1st to the 28th. And we have some cheese and eggs, cereal, everything in the broadband category. I had previously checked, and I know that these categories can redeem from the broadband, so we're good there. So let's just say we'll buy some cheese today. So let's go find a UPC for a pound of cheese. And I'm going to write down over here that I want to go find cheese because I have a short memory. There's a couple of different ways that you can find UPCs. You need to find a UPC that is in the APL for this agency. And you can go to our products page and search for cheese. I actually did have to look at my paper because of my short memory. And there's the cheese. We have exchange sizes, a pound. You could sort these columns different ways. But here's the UPC that we're going to buy. Let's get some Kroger cheese. And the reason I'm clicking this is just so that I can go in here and copy the UPC easier because the link doesn't copy well when I copy it from that page. And I'm going to also take this and put this on my clipboard. And let's see, while I'm in here, if there's anything else important to look at. Allow broadband, yes. So we know that this one actually can be purchased from the broadband. It's an active UPC, a bunch of good things about it. Now we're going to go over to vendors and find a vendor who's going to purchase, we are going to purchase this from. Now once you have things that you know UPCs, you know vendors, you can use them all the time. This is just, the quick and dirty way of, go get your account information, find out what you're going to buy, find a vendor, go sell it. All right. So all of the vendors I notice in this Nevada test instance are chain vendors, and that's important because WIC Direct does have a feature that will allow or restrict items from being sold in different types of vendors. For instance, if this were, suppose the cheese that we were going to buy, maybe that wouldn't be eligible to be sold at a chain, and WIC Direct would respond with a message declining your purchase. But this vendor only has chains, and I checked some of the items previously, and they are eligible to be sold in a chain type of vendor. If you did want to look at that, by the way, you would go over here to products. No, you would go over here to, yeah, products. And we'll just take a little trip back to products. And if you were to go and look at categories, I believe that's where we put that, and we went and we looked at the cheese, you can see that the allowed vendor types for the cheese, this is for all the category of cheese. There's chain and clinic, so pretty much all the ones that we have. So we already know that. Let's go back to vendors and find a vendor. And the vendor number is going to be looked at using the X9 number. So I'm going to copy that to my clipboard also. And now I'm going to show you how you go and build your message. All right, go over to the Messages tab. And before we go a little bit further, one thing I want to tell you that this was built originally back in 2009 for testing and for helping to fix purchases that sometimes need to be fixed on the retail side. And there are some bugs with it. We did eventually release it to some of our clients who needed it. We never did fix the bugs, so I will go on record as saying there are some bugs that you're going to run into from time to time. Okay, let's look at the messages page here, the choices we have. This is just you'll always land at the messages page, the main page, where you can search for messages that have happened and see what's, if you're looking for a particular message. We use this tool quite a lot in testing because you can manipulate a message to give you what you're looking for. Suppose you're looking for, I want to simulate a vendor sent me a message that had a certain thing in it, something bad or something good, or a really a half an ounce of cereal. I can't find exactly the right thing that I'm trying to send, so I can build my own type of message with this type of vendor, with this type of household. So that's what we use this for a lot. We do have actually a bug file that lists all of the bugs on the message builder tool. And it's not that they're that terrible. Sometimes they're little quirky things mostly, and you might run into them. If you think that you do run into them, just buzz me and we can talk through them. Anyway, so the first thing that you're going to do when you get in here at the landing page, you're going to go and build a message. So go over to the message builder page. Okay, a little bit about this screen. You can specify options. I said before you can build a bad message. Well, if you want to do that, you could actually say, well, I'm going to say that I allow errors in my message. Send it through to see what will happen. Okay. From the drop-down type of message type, we've got several different templates. These templates here, balance, purchase, these are all, the types of messages that we can send. And if you were to pick one of these, it would be a blank form, and you'd have to fill in all of the information yourself using the technical implementation guide or the X9 spec to know what were the valid values. But we've done something a little bit different. We've asked to have some messages in here with information already in them, so that when we go and send a message, we have to change very few things if we want to send a message through quickly. So if you go into the Save Template selection, you'll see all the different templates that were saved. These are the ones that come with our seed data or our default data. And you also can go any transaction that has come through the system, you can actually click on that and save it as your own template if you'd like to. So we're going to go and pick over here, purchase with a gateway merchant. And it brings up the purchase template, right? All of the fields that are required or not required based on the messaging spec. This M and C, mandatory or conditional. So bit 2 is mandatory in a purchase request, right? Bit 3 is mandatory in a purchase request. And notice all of these things are filled in with default values. We are going to change only the ones that we need to change to be able to sell our cheese to the Peters family. All right, and let's start with that. Okay. Everything that's over here on these fields, it has to be over here before you build the message. So the idea is you change this to what you need it to be. So I'm going to take out what was in the card number field, and I'm going to put in the card number for the Peters family. Okay. If I didn't have a card number, and here's where I said before, you can get this information different ways. You could come right to the message builder area and click the select from list and pick out what you're looking for. That to me is a little bit cumbersome because that's also sometimes where some of the little quirkiness, little quirky bugs come up. So there's the card number for the Peters family. When I update this, it's going to send that value over there, and it's also going to update bit 35. Right, the track data. So we're going to update that. I had asked at one point, I said it would be really nice if I could fill in all my data and then have an update all button. And Joseph, who's pretty good about taking, suggestions, I think he did put that on the list at some point, but just wasn't hot enough to do. So now the card number is over here. The next thing that I'm going to change is, you might think, well, don't you need to change the amount of the transaction? We'll get to that later. The next thing that I am going to change is down here. Oh, my screen's going to be crazy today. Okay. Okay, the system trace audit number, which is mandatory. The default value that we have in there is zeros, and that's fine. It'll take zero. It'll take zero every time. It doesn't care if it's a duplicate. But, as a test thing, I usually like to put a value in there. I don't like to have duplicates. You'll notice there's no update link for this one, because the value is so straightforward, you can just type it in. Okay, these are the size that it can be. If I put in 5 digits, it would make the message in error, and when I sent it through, I'd have a problem. So far I've changed my card number and my system trace audit number. The next important thing that you have to change are the date and the times. There's a local date and time, and there's also a host date and time. What we're going to do is click into this box, and we're going to pick a date for this message that is in the same time frame of our valid benefits. Right? If we send through a message for January, and our benefits don't start until February, the message will come back in failure. So this is the host. This is the local date and time, and I missed this one up here, which is the host date and time. Now I want you to notice something that I did here. Okay, I updated 2 dates, and I didn't yet click update. Right, so I've got old dates over here. I do that sometimes, and I forget to click update after each one. And what that does is eventually I build the message, and I've forgotten to update one of the fields, and the message comes back in error. So just get in the habit of, if you do something here, click update right away. The reason I tend to forget purposely is because I don't like waiting for the screen to refresh. So I've updated that one, and now you can see that the date of February 2nd is over there. And now I'm going to update this one. All right, so we've updated the card number, the STAN, the 2 date values so far. What do we need next? Well, the next thing that we need, and you'll notice here is bit 35. Notice how that card number got populated here? Because we had that check mark on there, also update bit 35. The next thing that I need is a good vendor, okay? And this is the vendor area, bit 43. Now I know that Gateway Store 04 is not a good vendor for us. It doesn't actually even exist in this system, but that's one of those default vendors they give us. I'm going to come down here and update the vendor number in bit 48. And when I do that and update this, he'll also update bit 43. And he'll pull in all the details. I guess the message builder is a he'll pull in all the details about this vendor and populate this up here. So that vendor number, the X9, is what goes in bit 48. I'm going to put over here, and I am going to update. Okay, you'll notice now bit 43 It says Albertson, 6,000, you know, all of the right things, which is what we saw on the other screen. And it's also over here in bit 43, and bit 48 has been changed. You know, it says, you know, WIC number, it tells you it's 7 in length, you know, that's what the technical implementation guide would spec out for this bit. All right, so now we've got our vendor, we've got our family there, we've got the right dates, but we don't yet have something, you know, we don't have a valid purchase item. The default purchase item that was in here looks like some kind of cereal or baby food or something. We're going to remove that from the selected products, and we're going to add in a product that we want to sell. Okay, so you click remove, and that should go right away. Then I'm going to take my UPC that I looked up for cheese, and I'm going to put it over here in the UPC PLU box. I'm going to say that it's $2.59. And I will purchase one of those because I know that I only have 1 pound. Okay. And I am going to add the product, and then it will show up here. And again, anytime you see select from list, that will actually show you a list of valid items that you could choose from. I happen to know what the cheese is, so I'm just going to take the fast path. And you can put, you know, 50 items in here. You can put as many items as you want to sell. You would just keep putting them up here and clicking add product. I will say this, that when you add PLUs in here to sell, that's where one of our most favorite bugs shows itself. When we update the message, it doesn't always format it correctly in the bit 62 data, and sometimes you can just go in and doink it. But just be sensitive to that. If you're selling a CVB item or a PLU, it's very possible that your message is going to look good and not go through and return a 110 error. All right, so that said, here is our cheese, and you'll notice bit 62 hasn't been changed yet. I can tell that because I remember what the old UPC was. I need to click update, and when I click update, it's also going to update bit 4, which before when we looked at it, remember bit 4 only had $1 for the amount of transaction, right? And bit 4 has to tie out right with what you're selling, has to tie out with bit 62. So we're going to click update, and we'll wait. We'll have some coffee. All right, I have done that. I can see that this changed. Let's take a look at bit 4. Well, bit 4 now says 259, which was what I would expect. I'm just about ready to send this transaction through, but something I need is I need the PIN information. I don't have the PIN information. And that's one of the reasons that this was actually created, was so that when we have transactions that we sometimes need to fix in a retail store, in an account actually after they happen in a retail store, we don't have the customer's PIN. We don't want the customer's PIN, but we needed a way to fix things. So what we have is this manual transaction, right? It gets flagged as a manual transaction. When you click manual transaction, which is the last thing you do before you're going to build it, it'll populate, you know, bits 52 and 53 with the security information and the fake PIN information. We're ready to build this message now, right? Everything that we need, everything else here, you didn't need to touch, right? Some of the things that were mandatory, they've been filled in with valid values for what we need to get this done. The next thing you do is build your message. Okay, doesn't look like anything happened, but if you go to the bottom of the page, you'll notice here's your message. It's built all nice and packaged up for you. It's got the bitmap formatted. All you need to do now is send it, right? So you're going to click Message Sender, and WIC Direct will take you from this page over to the Message Sender area, and it'll take that message with you. Here's your message. You're going to say, where do I want to send this message? Right? And if you look at the drop down here, you'll see a bunch of instances, and you'll notice there's no production instances here, and we did that on purpose. We want to make sure that we don't accidentally send a message over to to Utah or Maine or one of our WIC Direct agencies. We are on EBT Test 08, EBT 4. You want to make sure that you pick EBT 4. And these are just different, one of these is secure, one of them isn't. Doesn't matter which one you pick. I'm going to pick the non-secure one, EBT 4. Now, if you picked any of the other ones, the message would probably go through and would show up on somebody else's instance, or it would get declined, or would, depending on if this household exists in those other areas, but the message would go through. And somebody might call up and say, I have this phantom transaction that looks like somebody was trying to purchase something. So just beware that you want to pick the right instance. And all we're going to do now is send that message. Move that bus, right? Well, now it came back with a response, and it doesn't really look like much, right? What we're going to do is click Message Reader, okay? And this will actually interpret every bit of the message and let you know if things were successful. And you're seeing all green check marks there. And this looks like it was successful, and that's lovely. It tells you, the remaining balance. It's really kind of uneventful sometimes. What you really want to see is come over here to the transactions page. And we're going to click Retail History. This is a retail purchase. It would also show on the account history page because it did affect the account. But on the retail history page, you page down, and the default searches are for the last day. Here's your purchase. Right? This is us. It's all approved. Purchase request for $259 at Albertsons. If you wanted to see the deep details, you can click on the HDTN, which is assigned when we send the purchase through. Here's more details about it. Has it settled? Has it been paid? Who it came from? And these are some of the things that were actually in the message. Okay. And if you wanted to see exactly what you purchased, here's the UPC that we purchased. This is where the benefit came out of, even though this UPC was from Category 2, Subcat 1, the benefit came out of Category 2, the broadband. Okay. If there was an NTE adjustment, anything else like that, you would see that there. And this is the remaining balance. And if you decided you want to put that cheese back so that you could sell it again, or you did this by accident, or you wanted to give the cheese back because it's Carol's cheese and I shouldn't have been messing with it, we're going to say Karen did this for a test. That's my manual void comments, because I'm going to go and reverse this purchase by clicking manual void. And it said it manually voided it, and it gives us a handy little link over to transaction 40334, which we could see just as easily by clicking retail history again. Let's do that. And here is my void, and it shows it as a negative. And if I went back and looked at household 158, it'll look like I was never there. Let's see. And my cheese looks fine. And that's all we have today. One little thing that I did mention that I wanted to we have a little bit of time. I had said before, any purchase that you did that you love or you want to save, and sometimes we do this in test, we might have something that's failing and we want to submit the actual raw message to development. We can come over here to the messages page, because now we did 2 transactions, and when we come into messages on the landing page, you'll see these 2 messages here, right? This is our purchase, this is our void. If we wanted to save this template and make it our own, okay, these icons are not 508 compliant. This is your request, the first thing that we built. This was your response, what came back. So when we were looking at the message reader screen, we were seeing this. And this took me a long time to figure out what that was, and it still doesn't mean anything to me, but this is the icon for create a template. If you were to click this, and let's just go ahead and do it. I like that purchase so much that I might want to use it in the future. This template was added. And that template that we added was from HGTN 40333. You can come over and look at these now if you were going to build a message. Okay. Suppose I go into Save Templates, and you can go into the database and change the name of these. You go into Save Templates, and you notice there's 2 pages here, right? So let's go to the second page. And here is the template, right, the purchase for HUTN 40333. If I wanted to send this purchase through again, all I would need to do is this. Click on it. Okay, gee, what are all the things that I need to change? Well, we just sent it through, so we think it's pretty damn good, right? The card number's good. The stand, maybe I'll change the stand just because I feel like it. I'll change it to like 9. Okay. The date and time is good. We love that. The vendor is good. We love that, right? You know, the cheese is all good. I mean, there's just not a lot to have a problem with here. The only thing I'd really need to do is give it new PIN information. So if I went and clicked manual transaction, say, give me some new PIN security information. Okay. And then I build it. Building, building, building. Gotta keep on building, 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 building. There we go. He built it, and there's another message for me. Well, I'll just go send it. I've already avoided the cheese, so I know I have the cheese back. Let me come over here and pick EBT4, send it. And it came with the same uneventful thing. And sometimes I go right over to transactions page. The message reader is nice because if you were having a particular problem, it could tell you, oh, there's a problem right here on this bit. This bit had, you know, bad stuff in it. I'm going to skip that. Now I'm feeling all good about myself. I'm going to go right over to the transactions page and say, okay, what happened? And I'm going to go to retail history. And, well, now I've sold that cheese again. And I want to give the cheese back because I shouldn't be messing with Carol's stuff. And let's take 2. If I tried to void this without comments, it would actually say you need to have comments, right? Let's just do that. Manual void, you need comments. Okay, there's some comments. Manual void. All right, and it voided it. And if I went over to retail history, you would see, looks like Karen's playing around with cheese today. Buy the cheese, void the cheese. Buy the cheese, void the cheese. And that's all there is to doing a purchase with WIC Direct. As you get more familiar with this, I do lots of things. Sometimes up here I'll do duplicate tab because I'm lazy, right? And I might have 3 or 4 of these tabs open, right? And that's also, you know, things we do when we're testing. I might over here have the message builder page. And over here, I might have the retail page. So I might be building and sending over here and bumping back and forth over there. Sometimes I don't even go to the message sender page the way that I showed you. I might just cut and paste the message. So there's lots of things that you can do to make this quicker and faster. When we are building messages and tests, we do use PIN information. We have to make sure that the encryption is good and bad. But depending on what we're testing, we often use manual transaction too. And that's all I have today. I hope I didn't ramble too long. I tend to do that, but let me know if this works for you, and I'll see you at training. Bye, Carol.